Hey everyone, it's me Gavin Vengeance and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about my first impressions with the Tales of Arise demo that was just recently released on the PS5, I think the PS4, possibly other things, not 100% on that, but when I played it on the PS5 and I will say that I really did enjoy what I did experience, so I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible. Let's dive right into the very first thing I want to talk about, and that's the visuals. The environments in this game are absolutely breathtaking from what I can tell. And honestly, when they drop you right into that cliffside at the very beginning of this demo, it's just awe-inspiring. You get to see everything off in the distance, just everything from like the plant life and all of like the enemies and everything roaming around in the field. It is crazy. The artist really went to town on this, and it goes to show. I am absolutely taken away by just how well designed the environments are. And again, it's just a very, very small portion of the game that we get to experience here in the demo. And honestly, I think it's probably one of the best looking games that I've played to date. You do still have a little bit of that anime aesthetic with the characters and everything, but that's what the Tales series is kind of known for, so it's very much appreciated. It's here, it's present again. The next thing, battle. Honestly, the visual and like battle animations and everything is really crazy. There's a lot of particle effects going on here, and a lot of the animations and everything for the different arts, incredible. I love how like it cuts away to certain characters whenever you're using like I think they're called boost attacks, where your allies just jump in and assist you. Just like all of the like camera panning and everything that happens throughout the battle, very smooth, super sleek. And speaking of sleek, honestly, just the menus alone in this game, really minimalistic, awesome design, super easy to navigate. Everything to do with the menus, again, very, very visually pleasing. I cannot say it enough, the visuals are on point here with this game. Moving on to the gameplay, I'll talk about combat first. It feels incredibly good, very fast paced, super fluid, very polished. I really like the fact that you can use these things called boost attacks, where you just hit the directional pad and then one of your characters that you're not currently commanding will jump in, they'll perform an action, then they'll jump back out, you'll get back to being able to control your character. It's very much the same as the other Tales series games, where you focus mainly on using your arts attacks, and you can use your normal attack to build up the gauge as well. So it's really, really nice to actually see those familiar systems. Swapping between the characters, again, seamless. You just hold down, I believe it's like the L1 button, hit the D-pad for whichever character you want to swap to. My minor gripe with that, however, is that whenever you're swapping your characters, you can't swap to the characters that are in the reserve party. And I believe in the demo, there's just 2 characters that you have to have in that reserve party. You normally just have 4 in the main party. So you can only swap between the ones that are in the main party. However, whenever you use the boost attacks, you can use the characters in the reserve party to perform those attacks as well. Also, each of the characters feels extremely unique from one another. They all have their own little like perks that really complements them in battle. One character, you know, is really good at like dodging attacks, and whenever you do dodge attacks with them, he gains a damage buff. You have another character that's able to sacrifice his health for more damage. Another character uses a gigantic shield that you can use to block attacks. So each and every single one of the characters do feel very unique from one another, and it really changes up the pace of combat. Another thing about battle is, instead of using like magic points or anything this time around, you just have this gauge called CP, which stands for cure points. So you kind of have to like keep your eye on that a little bit if you're not really focusing on playing the healer, because you'll need to use things like gels to recharge that meter through combat, especially for the longer fights. Really, really different, but nice to see as well. It's the same thing, I guess, kind of as like MP, but just something I should note. However, one thing I will say that it felt a little bit weird is whenever you want to flee combat. Normally for games that kind of put you in this like little zone, you just run to the outer ring and then the fleeing gauge comes up or whatever. But for this one, you had to actually go into the menu, select flee, and then stand still until the meter ran down and you were able to like leave battle. It's a little bit weird, but it works. The exploration gameplay feels really good here as well. I will say that the zone size kind of reminds me of like a Dragon Quest XI type map, with the enemies just kind of roaming around the map. It makes it feel very lived in. You have NPCs to talk to, as well as there was one character that I encountered that was a shop. Really useful, so you can pick up some items in case you're running low on the harder difficulties like I was. Very thankful for that. There were things like treasure chests that were hidden around each and every single corner, and some of them were tucked away behind the enemies, so you may want to fight those so that way you can get the reward. It seemed like the majority of the treasure chests in this demo, from what I could tell, were weapons for the characters. However, there were a couple that were like gels or whatever. That being said, there was also things to gather in terms of like ingredients for cooking, and you can cook at the campfires that were available as well. Now, the campfire, very, very reminiscent of like Final Fantasy 15. Your characters kind of have like their little remarks they make at each other, and then you pick a dish that'll give you a certain buff based upon whichever food it is. Now, some characters are better at cooking different dishes, and sometimes you're presented with a scene as well to go along with the dish, like the roasted chicken one for Elfin, which was it was pretty fun, pretty entertaining. And you can also review scenes and skits that you encountered in the past as well at the campfire. So again, really nice addition here. Things as well like swimming that you can do out on the map seemed a little bit restrictive in the demo. Like I couldn't dive off of like certain wharfs and stuff, which was weird, but there were areas where you could swim, and honestly it was really nice to see that level of exploration as well. So very, very much appreciated. The things I did encounter that were a little bit iffy was sometimes around like the outer edge of the map and everything. It felt a little bit restrictive, but that's going to happen when you're not playing an open world RPG in my opinion. So nothing really too big of a gripe in my opinion. As well as like jumping around certain like deviations in the terrain. I've only encountered a couple of like instances where it felt like I was just jumping into an invisible wall. But for the most part, it is really good. Another little nitpick that I do have with the swimming, there's a very brief slowdown whenever you're entering or leaving the water. And to me, whenever I'm running full sprint and I dive into the water and I have to wait a couple seconds for my character to become controllable again, it's a little bit of a gripe, but again, just nitpicking. In terms of the audio, the music here sounds incredible. I really can't wait to hear more of the soundtrack. Just based upon what I've heard in the demo, it was really good. Sound effects as well. Things like just materials clanking on your character, like armor and stuff like that whenever you're walking, or different environmental sounds and everything. Audio here, very, very well done. Not really much else to say about it. My biggest nitpick with the game is honestly something to do with the voice acting. And it's nothing to do with the actual voice acting itself, because it's actually really good. It's incredible. And the voice actors and actresses do a fantastic job. But it's the fact that the main story scenes aren't fully voiced, and they kind of do like the Octopath Traveler thing, where they read one line or they make like a sigh or a hum or something, and then all of a sudden there's a gigantic paragraph of text, their mouth flaps start moving, but nothing's voiced. And the reason that it's weird is that there's side scenes that you can also do while you're exploring by hitting R1 on your controller, and those are fully voiced. It's kind of like a manga like cutaway style animation and everything, which is very much appreciated, because you don't have the standard visual novel 2 character portraits talking to each other with the one dialogue box at the bottom like Tales of Berseria. But again, very, very odd choice that they didn't decide to fully voice the main dialogue, but rather opted to voice the side dialogue. Again, maybe that's just me. I don't know. I find it a little bit annoying. The last thing I wanted to mention was actually the fact that they did give you the option to set your button bindings in the settings. The weird thing about this is that they did allow you to set your jump button in combat to whichever button you wanted. However, if you set it as something like X, you're forced to use circle outside of combat when you're exploring to jump, so it could get a little bit confusing. I'm kind of curious as to why they only allow you to set the commands for in combat and not while also out in the field, so hopefully that's something that may get patched in as well. Anywho, that's going to do it for my first impressions for the Tales of Arise demo, and I'm honestly really looking forward to the game. I'm going to pick it up on day one, so I will be covering a little bit more about it here on the channel, so if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, now would be a great time to do so. Also, please like the video if you found it a little bit informative or helpful. It really, really helps. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you all for the next video. Take care. Peace.